All right, so the first thing we're going to do is cut out our pumpkin, and using your scissors safely. Remember, if we have to get out of our seat, we never leave our seat with our scissors. We call that walking with scissors. Make sure you put your scissors down if you have to get out of your seat. But when we're ready to cut, you're going to open them wide like they're really hungry, and they're going to be nibbling, 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 slow eating, not chomp, 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 chomp. All right, that's messy cutting and messy eating with our scissors. So the first thing I like to do is actually kind of free the shape of my pumpkin. So I like to kind of do a rough nibble, and I'm just kind of freeing the shape. And it kind of just gets off the extra paper that we don't need. And you can see I have way less paper to deal with now. Now I'm using one hand to turn my paper and the other hand to nibble. So I'm going to find one edge of my paper and I'm going to carefully nibble off all of that manila paper. So I'm nibbling close to the edge of where my paint is. And it's okay if we still see a little bit of the manila paper. And remember, if you drew a line that you did not like, this is your chance to get rid of it by cutting it off. And I'm using the other hand to turn, and I just keep on nibbling. Now, when you're finished cutting out your pumpkin, you should be left over with a lot of paper scraps. I like to crumble in a ball and go throw it away in the recycling bin. Now, after you've thrown away your scraps, you're going to flip your pumpkin to the back, and we are going to glue our pumpkin onto our background. So I'm going to open the box of glue, and remember, we've used our glue in our weaving project. You want to dip, 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 wipe, 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 and we are going to pretend our brush with glue is like a bunny, and our bunny is going to hop around the edges of our pumpkin, or the edge of our pumpkin, hopping all the way around. And you want to kind of hop kind of fast, because if you go too slow, your glue is going to be dry by the time you get all the way around. So a fast bunny hop all around the edges, not in the center. I'm going to put my glue brush down back in the tray. And when I'm ready, I'm going to flip the glue side down to my background. I'm going to give it a firm press, not banging on my artwork, but just giving it a gentle press. And I'm going to flip it over to the back, and I'm going to give a kind of a harder massage, not banging, but giving it a really good massage. And once you think you have massaged it for about, maybe count to 20 in your head, okay, you're going to flip it back over, and it should be nicely glued down. Now, there's still some parts of my artwork that are kind of sticking up. So instead of lifting the whole pumpkin and re-gluing all of it, I'm just going to put glue where it needs it. So I'm going to put the paper to sleep because it's still kind of waking up. So I'm going to gently lift up just the part and, put down some glue where it needs it. Now I have some glue that spilled out. That's okay. I'm going to wipe it on my messy mat near me. So after you've put glue down, on the spot that woke up, you need to press down again so it really stays. For example, I have another area here. Put some more glue on the part of the pumpkin. Hold it down. And it should be nice and glued down. All right, when you're all finished gluing, put your glue brush back on your tray. If you are the last person to finish gluing, I would like for you to close your glue box and make sure all the brushes are laying on the tray facing the same direction. Now at your table, you're going to see a tray that has boxes and sets of oil pastels. There will be 4 trays or 4 sets of oil pastels, so you need to grab one for yourself. And I like to keep my oil pastels near the middle of my table so that they are safe. If you keep them close to the edge, you might accidentally knock them over. Now, if you notice, they all have like a home for each oil pastel. So when we're using it, we're being mindful using one color today. All right, so using your black oil pastel, your challenge is to outline your pumpkin lines again. Now, we drew them originally and then we painted, and now we can't really see them, but you should be able to see some of your lines still. If you can't see them at all, then you're just going to redraw them. So I'm going to start from the right side of my pumpkins. Remember, your lines on the right side will follow that right curve when we did that hand trick. The left side of my pumpkin will follow the curve of my left hand. Now, luckily, I still see my curve, so I'm just going to re-outline them. And my lines on my pumpkin go from the top to the bottom. And a little tip when you're using oil pastel is to make sure you're holding it on the paper. And when you're drawing, you don't want to press too hard because oil pastels are quite soft. So if you press too hard, it's going to break. And when you're drawing, try to keep your hand or your whole arm off of your paper, because if your hand touches it while you're drawing it, it will smear the oil pastel because it is soft and it will move the color. So I like to keep my hand off of the paper and my oil pastels only touching it. After all of my lines have been retraced for my pumpkin, I'm going to start adding some organic dots, organic shaped dots onto my pumpkin. Now you can use small dots today, you can use medium dots or large dots. Sometimes I call it baby, mama, and papa. So I have an idea in my head. I'm gonna do my largest dots at the bottom, my smallest dots in the middle, and my baby small dots at the top. Now you can do a different type of pattern, maybe small dots, large dots, small dots. It's up to you. So using your oil pastel, I like to draw the shape first. And my dots are gonna get smaller and smaller and smaller. Make sure to keep an eye on your hand if it's touching the paper or not. Once I've drawn the outline of my shape, I'm going to go back and color in that shape. Now when I'm coloring with color pastel, remember you're coloring lightly, and I like to pick one direction when I'm coloring in those dots. Picking one direction, I'm coloring up and down. Maybe you choose to color side to side or diagonally. When you're creating your dots in your pumpkin, I want you to also keep in mind of the spacing. So for example, my spacing in between each dot is about a finger width apart. Maybe yours will be 2. So kind of keep it consistent, which means the same when you are drawing and coloring in your dots. Because our artwork is dry today, when you are finished with your pumpkin, I want you to turn it into your artwork folder. Make sure your oil pastel is away. Yes, your hands will be a little bit dirty today, and if we are clean and quiet at the end of class, we will get towels. And make sure your artwork goes in the folder, and you may help somebody at your table if they are not done, but please kindly ask them first. When you are finished with your pumpkin, you will turn your artwork into the artwork folder because it is dry today. It's not wet. So we're going to take it to our artwork folder. Make sure your oil pastels are put away nicely and neatly and they're not just sitting on the table or on the floor. So make sure they go back home. And yes, your hands will be dirty today and a little bit messy because we were working with oil pastels. They're a little bit oily. So at the end of class, if we are clean and quiet, we will get a wet towel and wipe our hands. Now, when everything's all put away, you may leave your seat and see if anyone at your table needs help or anyone else at another table needs help if you kindly ask them first.